One thing about Jersey City Story is a Jersey guy wrote it. I mean, a Jersey guy who really is a Jersey guy, even though he's born in New York. Alan Roth, who we were talking before, is, I asked him where the story came from, and I'll let him tell you where it came from, but it came from a place which is where you hope all stories come from, a genuine incident, something that involves feeling. I mean, one of the cliches about what it takes to be a good screenwriter is that you got to have a good ear. You got to have a sense for dialogue, how people really talk and so forth, which Alan does. But Alan, I think, has let's include all the senses in that. You need a good eye, you need a good nose, and you need to feel. And I think what Alan did, that thing that all writers try to do. You have a bunch of abstract things called words that you hope somebody will speak and act someday and make come to life. You want to put the life in those words that an actor can find so that they aren't just empty things. But all those abstractions don't mean anything unless they produce feeling, unless they produce emotion, and all the things that we actually go to the movies for. So I'd like to introduce Mr. Alan Roth.
Take out my papers here. I have to tell you that the following has been cut down from the original 4.5-hour speech I submitted to the Academy earlier in the week. As a young boy who loved to write, I was very lucky to grow up in a house of books. My mother and father were great readers, and books were everywhere. I read what I could, but some of the authors were just a little too tough for a kid my age. But my parents told me about the authors they read, and their favorite writers became my heroes, even if I had not read them. In the 3rd grade, my teacher went around the room asking each of us if we could be any figure from history when we grew up, who would it be? My classmates said Columbus, Superman, and the President of the United States. The teacher called on me, and I said, Leo Tolstoy. I'd like to just talk for a moment about my writer's journey. A very close friend of mine passed away at a young age, leaving a son behind and a daughter. And his son was my godson. And a few weeks after his dad died, I took my godson out to a pro basketball game in New Jersey, after which his hero would be signing T-shirts. We stood on line for an hour, and when it came our turn, I asked the public relations folks if my godson could shake hands with the player. And they apologized and said no, they needed to keep the line moving. I nicely explained that his father had just passed away. The player was the boy's hero, and it would mean so much. They apologized again and said they just could not accommodate my request. We started to walk away, only to hear a booming voice from behind. It was the player, and he'd heard what I had said. He stood up, all 6 foot, 10 inches of him, summoned my godson, and whispered something to him that brought a glow to his face and sustained my godson over the next very difficult months. It was a magical moment, and afterward, the scene kept on replaying in my head. I finally had to get it down on paper, and it became the foundation for my Nicholl script, Jersey City Story. I made a silent promise to my friend, the father of my godson, that I would tell this story if I ever made it to this podium, and I truly believe that he reached his hand down from above and guided me here tonight. And now I have kept my promise. I would like to thank the Academy and the distinguished members of the Nicholl Committee for this very great honor. And I'd like to thank, of course, my mother and my father, my friends from New Jersey, You can tell they're from New Jersey. Marty, you want to come on up here? Who surprised me and touched my heart by being here this evening. I'd like to thank my wife for her abiding faith in me as a writer, and my daughters, Sari and Jenna, who are literally the twin lights of my life. Thank you.